California has seen a lot of scenic railroads spread all across the state, whether it's a small one on museum grounds, a partial retelling of the line, a dinner train, or even the complete restoration and operation of a railroad. Yes, California has it all. But California even has some defunct scenic railroads. One of them, however, is just a little more interesting, for it only existed for a few months. And let's just say that the story of it is a lot more interesting the more you look into it. Transcisco Tours was owned by Transcisco Industries, a company formed in 1972 by Mark Hungerford, mainly to manage and lease out railcars. In the early 1980s, however, the company split into two separate firms, Transcisco and PLM International. We'll focus on the former, as it started to notice that the railroad industry was taking a very interesting turn. This was the dinner train rush. Dinner trains like the Napa Valley Wine Train started to appear in the 1980s, and Transcisco would later form Transcisco Tours for operations in both California and Texas. We will be focusing on their California operations from here on out. (1990) saw the introduction of Transcisco Tours' own dinner trains, starting with a contract with Amtrak to deliver luxury passenger service between San Jose, California and Reno, Nevada, and a second coming out of San Antonio, Texas. A third between Los Angeles, California and Las Vegas, Nevada was planned, but was never brought into operation. The San Jose to Reno operation was aptly named the Sierra 49er Express. The train was meant to serve as an improvement to Amtrak's existing Reno Fun train, and to accomplish this was some very interesting acquisitions in terms of rolling stock. This included 7 former Southern Pacific Pullman Gallery cars rebuilt to club cars, 2 former Union Pacific ACF Astrodomes, a former Union Pacific ACF Dome Diner, a former Union Pacific ACF Cafeteria Lounge, an HEP car, and most interestingly, 3 former Burlington Northern F-45s, 6627, 6642, and 6635. 6627 became Transcisco 1001, 6642 became Transcisco 1002, and 6635 became Transcisco 1003. 1001 in particular was also rebuilt to have an HEP generator installed, effectively making it an FP45. After agreements with Amtrak for a 5-year operation, the Sierra 49er Express was introduced for service on December 7, 1990, to much fanfare. Little did anyone know, however, that this train wouldn't last long. But we'll get to that. The train starts at San Jose Diridon Station, heading north to its first stop in Oakland, California. The train continues through the Bay Area, stopping at Richmond and Martinez, before moving more inland, stopping at Sacramento, before heading to Truckee. It said that service to Lake Tahoe and Reno was provided by van, but it seems there is video evidence of the train taking the Roseville subdivision all the way to Reno. I'm not necessarily sure if this is true, as all Google Maps images show unfamiliar scenes due to Reno's retract program made to grade separate Reno Station in 2007. Either way, the train journey would take around 7 hours to traverse the 280-mile journey between the two cities. The train would depart San Jose on Mondays and Fridays, and would come back to the Bay Area on Wednesdays and Sundays, usually staying in both cities for a couple of days. However, if the Sierra 49er Express was this well received, then where is it now? Well, going back to when the train first started operations, Transcisco stated that ridership numbers of 50,000 had to be met in order for the train to be considered economically viable. Unfortunately, the train did not meet these numbers, proving that the train was not economically feasible, and this was mainly due to the high ticket prices. The train only lasted through the winter of 1990 to 1991, before the last train ran on April 29th of 1991. Transcisco, from his trains, reported losses of nearly $13.8 million in 1991 alone, and $3.5 million in 1992. That's equivalent to $30.9 million and $7.6 million respectively in 2023. This would spell the end of Transcisco Tours entirely, as it filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in July of 1991. Transcisco later came out of bankruptcy in September 1993 after paying Amtrak another $1.5 million to terminate the operating agreement, and went back to becoming a railcar leasing company, leasing to both the Burlington Northern and the Southern Pacific. Transcisco was involved in the attempted buyout of it in April of 1995 by Johnstown America Industries for $9 million, but Transcisco rejected the offer. In May of 1996, however, Transcisco accepted a buyout offer for $46 million from Trinity Rail Management, thus making Transcisco a thing of the past. Mark Hungerford, the founder of Transcisco, would later pass in 2005. With the discontinuation of the Sierra 49er Express, all rolling stock was sold off to different companies. 6 of the Southern Pacific Gallery cars were sold to the Burlington Northern and are now used on BNSF's Executive Specials and Track Geometry trains. These cars are BNSF 40, Fox River, BNSF 87, BNSF 41, BNSF 44, BNSF 80, and BNSF 45. The whereabouts of the 7th car is unknown. The Union Pacific cars went back into the hands of the company that first owned them. These cars are now UP 9009, the City of San Francisco, UP 7011, the Missouri River Eagle, UP 4003, Pacific Limited, and UP 8004, Colorado Eagle. The whereabouts of the HEP car are also unknown, as its history has not been confirmed. As for the F-45s, all 3 would later be sold to the Wisconsin and Southern Railroad in 1992, and later in 1994, the Montana Rail Link, renumbered to 391, 392, and 393. 392 in particular was involved in a collision in Livingston, Montana in 2003, but was repaired. The F-45s, however, would be retired in 2005 with the arrival of both new build and former BHP SD-70 Aces. 391 and 393 were cut up, while 392 and Sister 390, former BN 6644, were sold to Doyle McCormick, and both units were kept in Livingston. But the units were then threatened of being cut up if they were not moved from the property. Chris Fussell stepped in, however, but could only save one of the units, and he chose 390. 392 will be scrapped in Livingston in 2014. None of the locomotives leading the Sierra 49er Express survive today. In fact, only MRL 390 is the last BN F-45 standing. It is currently stored in Airway Heights, Washington, on the property of Western Rail, the same company that currently holds the former Modoc Northern 651. In the end, the Sierra 49er Express and its parent company tried to fill a void left by Amtrak's Reno Fun train, but unfortunately, high ticket prices and low ridership doomed the train practically before it even turned a wheel. Although attempts were made to bring it back, it was to no avail, and even then, dinner trains started to become more and more of a thing of the past. No matter the case though, although Transcisco is no longer an active company, and its train was cancelled after just a few months of operation, that train filled a huge hole for Amtrak, and although even the train it tried replacing went out of business in 2017, Transcisco's Sierra 49er Express will always be remembered to those who rode the train for a little more of a fun time, back when the world moved a little slower.